So today we are continuing our talk about hormones. Let me just go ahead and stay up front though. I'm not here to guilt you into a wellness routine or shame you into another thing to do because I know how much is already on your plate, right? In fact, that's kind of the point, right? Most midlife women that I talk to, they're burned out. It's not because they're lazy or lacking discipline but because they're so constantly pouring out of themselves and never actually pausing to pour back into themselves. And so, we often rush through meals, skimp on sleep, forget to drink water until we're dizzy, right? And it's not because you don't care. And it's because something, along the way has taught us to believe that everyone else's needs are more important than ours. Okay. But friend, what if taking care of you was the most selfless thing that you could do for everyone around you? Because here's what I believe, and I'll just say it gently, but I want to say it very clearly. Your basic needs are not optional. They are the foundation. They are the non-negotiables of a body that runs well. And so today we're not chasing hacks. We're not going over to extremes. We're going to go back to the basics because that's where real change happens. And not in a way that feels like punishment, because in a way that just really says, I matter. I am made in the image of God, and I get to honor this body as the beautiful, valuable masterpiece that it is, because you're worth caring for without apology. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with something that might surprise you a little, and that is that hormone support doesn't start with supplements or fancy protocols or even with your labs. However, I do go into those things when I work with one-on-one clients, but it starts with the basics. And I know basics, that word, it doesn't sound sexy or groundbreaking, but let me just tell you something, they are powerful because most women I work with aren't falling apart because of one big dramatic thing. Right? They're unraveling slowly because of the simple things like water, sleep, balanced meals, all of those things when they're slipping through the cracks, and again, it's not because you don't care, but because you've been taught to care for everyone else first. And I totally get it. I have been there for years. I convinced myself I was doing okay on lack of sleep, rushing from one thing to the next, skipping meals, chugging caffeine. And I thought I was being efficient, and I love efficiency, let me just tell you. But what I was really doing was teaching my body that survival mode is normal. And so if you're right there right now functioning this way, functioning barely, right, it's really okay, because this isn't about blame. This is about gently just asking yourself, like, what if we tried something different? Because here's the truth, your hormones, they're just responding to your everyday life, right? Your cortisol, it's listening to your calendar. Your insulin, it's responding to your meals. Your thyroid, it's picking up on how safe your body is feeling, right? So, in this first section of our conversation, I want to go back to those four big basics. And you're going to hear hydration. I know, right? I'm a hydration nerd. It always comes down to hydration, but your cells, they can't detox or regulate anything in your body without water. Okay. So it is a non negotiable. Let's talk about blood sugar balance. Starting the day with protein and fiber, it changes everything. And then sleep. Your hormones, they repair and they reset while you're resting. And then movement, gentle, consistent movement. I'm not talking about exercise that's pounding and pushing, but that gentle, consistent movement signals safety and lower stress in your body. These are not optional if you want to feel better, right? But we're not tackling all of them at once, right? Just pick one. That's it. Just one. And it's going to be about honoring, not overhauling or fixing. And when you start to show up for your body in this way with that kind of perspective, you'll be totally amazed at how your body starts showing up for you too. It's really neat how the Lord made this all work. Okay, so we have covered the basics. Let's go ahead and go a little bit deeper into what those lifestyle shifts actually look like and why they matter. Okay, because let's just totally be honest with ourselves. It's not that you haven't heard of sleep or water or protein before, right? It's that no one has ever explained how those things tie together into your hormones, your mood, your weight, and your energy. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with balancing your blood sugar. Okay, when your blood sugar is spiking and crashing all day, it's like sending hormones on a roller coaster, and I'm not even talking about the fun kind because I sure do love a good roller coaster. But it's keeping your meals balanced with protein, healthy fats, and healthy fats is actually really key for hormones. I want to say that, but fiber. These are things that help steady everything else: your cortisol, your insulin, your energy, your brain. Right. So go ahead and try this. Start your day with a glass of water first, right, and protein. So not coffee, not toast, not fruit, water and protein. And I'm not saying don't have your coffee. I'm just saying start with the water and protein first, okay? And see what happens. You might actually find that you don't need to rely on the coffee for the energy. You just might still want to drink it because you enjoy it. How fun would that be, right? And here's something that a lot of women don't actually realize. When estrogen starts to drop in our bodies, the way our body processes carbs changes. Okay. And so often when we put those starchy carbs into our bodies, it sends an inflammatory response. So you might have been eating bread, pasta, uh, a banana, right, with no problem in your 20s and 30s. But now it could possibly be spiking your blood sugar and crashing your energy. So that's again not you doing anything wrong. It's just how your hormones operate now. So you may need to take some small adjustments to your macros, especially if your activity level has shifted. Again, it's not about cutting carbs. It's about choosing the right kind of carbs and pairing them with protein and making sure that they're all working with your body and not against it. Okay. Let's move on to cortisol. Your stress hormone, it doesn't just spike when something bad happens. And that's something that I think we often think, but it actually is reacting to your pace of life, your sleep, your emotional load. Okay. And when it's high for too long, it starts robbing other hormones like progesterone and testosterone and estrogen to just keep you going. And so I would love it for you to try something like this, like a 10-minute walk outside with no phone, just fresh air, right? It's one of the simplest ways to tell your body you're safe. Okay. And one way to kind of take it a little bit deeper, and one of the most powerful ways to regulate your cortisol is by supporting your nervous system. That's where breath work and stretching will come in. They gently calm that body and tell your system it doesn't have to stay on high alert, right? The hard part is we often underestimate the healing power of water, drinking it, soaking it in, swimming in it, or even just listening to it like I'm doing right now with my camper right here by the water. Water, it grounds you, it soothes, it recalibrates, okay? And here's something else that's really fun to know. Chronically elevated cortisol, it triggers inflammation. And that often shows up as physical tension in your body, weight gain, especially around the middle, and even stored trauma responses in your body. And so your body, it holds on to those things when it doesn't feel safe. So this isn't about managing stress for productivity. It's about creating safety for your body. Okay, let's move on to sleep. Sleep, it's not just rest. It's actually about repair. And so this is when your body restores hormones, calms the inflammation, balances cortisol, and just as importantly, it detoxes estrogen. So your body, it doesn't just produce estrogen, it also has to break it down and eliminate what it no longer needs. And so this is called estrogen metabolism. But here's the thing, this process mostly happens while you sleep. And if your sleep is poor or inconsistent, your body might not be completing that detox cycle. And then that can lead down to like estrogen dominance, where your body is holding on to more estrogen than it should. So, symptoms like heavy periods, or breast tenderness, or irritability, or stubborn weight, this can all be linked back to this estrogen dominance. So, yes, we want to start prioritizing getting our sleep, but restoring your body's rhythm, right? Because your circadian rhythm, it isn't just about a bedtime routine, it's about your body's internal clock. for everything, like when you wake up, when you eat, when you drink, when you rest, right? And it's one of the first things I address when working with clients, right after I help them get their hydration in first. So think of it like this, like babies, this rhythm, the circadian rhythm, it's essential for survival. And then as women, when we get older, this rhythm, it's essential for our regulation, right? It helps your body predict what's coming next. And then that predictability, it allows you to relax, detox, truly heal. Right. So go ahead and start with a consistent wake up time and a wind down time at night, not just to fall asleep, but preparing to sleep. And if you can, aim for earlier dinners. That way, your body's not trying to digest right up to when you're going to bed, because that can disrupt your detox part of the cycle. Okay, and another foundational thing is movement. Okay, and this one's actually big, especially if you've been told you need to work harder and push through in your workouts. But here's what your body actually really needs in this season is consistency, not intensity. Okay, gentle movement like walking, stretching, strength training. This doesn't just help with your weight or your body's tone, it tells your body you're safe, you're not in a crisis. And when your nervous system gets that message, your hormones start to follow suit. And so, exercise, it also can help your lymphatic system move, which helps the detoxing process, right? It supports metabolism, it boosts your mood by releasing those feel good chemicals in your brain. And so, try a 10-minute stretch while you're cooking dinner. Like, if you've got something sauteing, like sit there and do a couple stretches to kind of get yourself going while you're cooking. And that's it, right? Research even shows that several short bursts of movement throughout the day can be more beneficial than one really long 45-minute or 1 hour session. So the goal isn't to push so hard that your body needs recovery, it's to stay gentle in motion, like a flowing river. Right? Not a rushing one, but just that flowing river. So, yes, the science behind hormones, it can be complex, but the support doesn't have to be. Okay. We're just talking about the basics here. So sometimes the most powerful shifts that can happen when we get back to those basics, that simple, steady thing, is what our bodies have been craving for all along. So you don't have to do this whole overhaul overnight. You just have to start with honoring those rhythms your body was designed to live by, that hydration, blood sugar balance, sleep, movement, and let those rhythms bring your hormones back into sync. Okay. So I know that we've talked through a lot of the why and the what, but let's go ahead and talk about where to start because I know how easy it is to hear a bunch of really good ideas and then feel stuck thinking, okay, but like, where do I actually start? Right? So here's my invitation for you this week. Like, pick one thing from today's episode, just one. Maybe it's going to be hydration. Maybe it's starting that morning with protein. Maybe it's finally getting serious about winding down before bed. Whatever jumped out to you today, that's your body telling you where to begin. Okay. And listen, I know you're probably already know what your weak spot is. Most women do, right? You've told yourself 100 times, like, I really need to be doing this thing differently. And so you don't need someone like me lecturing you. You just need support and maybe just a little permission to go back to those basics. Right? Because here's something I've learned over and over again. When you talk to professionals in any field, whether it's fitness, medicine, or even performance, right? They always reset by going back to the basics. They don't underestimate the power of that simple, basic, foundational place because basics aren't a beginner's fallback. They're your foundation. So anything built on less is going to be shaky. So just pick one, start there, and remember, I'm here to help you. So you don't need to have to do all the things. You just need to start somewhere and do it in a way that honors your body, your life, and your season that you're in. That's why I'm here, right? Not to overwhelm you or to give you a list of shoulds because we all already have those in place, but to walk alongside of you and offer you support as you start building these rhythms that actually are going to work for you. So if this episode stirred anything in you, maybe brought some clarity or gave you that little nudge that you've needed, here's what you can do next. You can go grab that free workbook in the Facebook group. It'll help you sort through what we talked about today and pick one or two small shifts to focus on this week. And if you want deeper help, reach out to me by email at Michelle@MichelleDayRose for one-on-one coaching and session because I can absolutely help you look at your labs, ask the right questions, advocate for the support you need, and help you get on the right rhythm. Just a heads up, next week we're going to be shifting gears a bit. We're going to be kicking off our summer series of skincare, fashion, feeling confident in your body right in the season that you're in. So you don't want to miss that.